Welcome to EO Talks, Eastern Oregon's very own talk show, only here on EOAlive.
Please introduce yourself and tell us what you're running for.
Hi, good afternoon. I am Susan Bauer, and I am running for Umatilla County Commissioner, seat 1.
Can you tell us what you do professionally?
Sure. I am a small business owner. I own Eastern Oregon Business Source, which is a consulting organization. We're headquartered in Pendleton, Oregon. We serve all over the Pacific Northwest, but primarily, especially over the last 5 years, we've served in Umatilla and Morrow counties. I do strategic planning, grant writing, and advising for businesses, nonprofits, as well as government.
Now, do you have any public service background?
I do. I have served on a number of boards and committees, such as the Pendleton Chamber of Commerce, the Children's Museum of Eastern Oregon. I've also served in a number of committees with the city of Pendleton, including the Budget Committee. Most of those were appointed. They were all volunteer. And those are the most recent, since I've lived in this area, but I have always been involved in public service, back to when I was a little girl. My parents taught us by, them being involved in public service, and then also always wanted us to be involved in something. So I was very, very young and very service oriented, particularly at church as I was growing up.
Now, can you go a little bit more in depth about your personal biography?
My personal biography. Yes, I was born and raised in a rural agricultural town in Ohio. Specifically, it's a town called Mount Vernon, Ohio. I would compare it a lot to Hermiston or a Pendleton as far as Umatilla County goes. It has grown. Mount Vernon has grown a lot, but as I was growing up, the environment politically and economically was very much like where Umatilla County is today. And by that, what I mean is there was an interest in growth. There was some opportunity for growth. There was lots of questions. There were many public meetings about what direction the community is going. So where we are now actually brings back a lot of memories of the time when I was growing up. And although my parents were not involved in politics, they were very involved in public service. So it's a crisp memory. So after graduating from high school in Central Ohio, I went on to college, Otterbein University, also in Central Ohio. And then from there, after graduation, I went to work for Bank One Corporation. And in that time, I was able to go through a very comprehensive management training program, and ended up, over the years, ended up in a senior vice president position. I was very young. I was 26. And at that time, I was the only female, which is an interesting fact. But I had the opportunity to manage 400 employees, and I had a budget responsibility of $25 million. So I had lots of customer service, product development, managing of people, did a lot of traveling, public speaking on behalf of the bank. Then in 1990, no, I'm going to take that back. 2002, I moved from Ohio to Spokane, Washington, lived there for 3 years and taught for Whitworth University. I taught strategic planning and human resource management. And then almost 20 years ago, moved to Pendleton. where I have taught for Blue Mountain Community College as well as Walla Walla Community College. But my primary focus professionally is in my business, and so I haven't taught at the organizations for a while. My business keeps me very busy.
Can you tell me more about your community of Pendleton?
Yes, Pendleton is a town in Umatilla County, Eastern Oregon. Within the city limits, we have around 17,000 people in population. It's a very family-oriented community. Where kids are a top priority. It's a conservative community. There is a lot of traditional values as it relates to politics and uh, spiritual beliefs in terms of a conservative nature. We are perfectly placed 3.5 hours from Spokane, the same from Boise, the same from Portland, and about 4 hours to Seattle. So geographically, we're wonderfully placed. And I think compared to other communities, particularly in the state of Oregon, I think comparatively speaking, Pendleton has less crime than many of the cities that we hear about in our state and certainly across the nation. Every community has its issues. Right now, our community is talking a lot about how can we help the homeless population, and how can we help people with that have drug addiction issues. But those are everywhere. Those are not unique to Pendleton. But I think it is really neat that it's a community that acknowledges when and where people need help, and that we take a service approach to the matter. So that's something I find unique about Pendleton.
As you talk to Umatilla County residents, what are issues you're hearing them say that they want the next county commissioner to tackle?
Yes. Well, as a previous question touched on, homelessness, mental health, and drug addiction come up literally everywhere I go. And I would go so far as to say 9 out of 10 people, those are the topics that they want to hear and share and talk about. In addition to those, I hear also a lot about responsible and professional leadership. When I dig a little further about that, what I hear people say is, we turn the TV on, or we turn the radio on, or go to social media, and there's just not a whole lot of positive conversation around politics and elected officials and government. And people tell me, we just want to have somebody that we're proud to be representing us, and someone that is going to advocate for our community. And I also get, that people want folks who have a background and who have qualifications, and most importantly, experience doing many of the things that an elected official position does. So I have found that a very informational, and I also found that affirming to me, because I feel that way also. And that's much of the reason why I'm running, is because I do feel that I have a very unique background that we don't often see in government. Other matters I hear about include economic development. Many people want to know more about how these enterprise zones work. Where does the money come from? Like when an Amazon comes to town, for instance. And within that, there's lots of questions about, why don't we have the Amazon pay taxes? And what are we doing about public safety and schools and other places that some of that money could go. They're very, very good questions. And I think they're questions that as a commissioner, I want to be able to answer in a way that we can all understand and even have a opportunity to provide some input. But I sense that there's some great growth and interest in growth, but some concerns about economically what the benefits really look like.
Now, who is your favorite Oregon historical figure?
I have to be honest. I don't know if he would consider himself yet a historical figure, but Senator Hansel, who is from Eastern Oregon, from Umatilla County. We've lived here almost 20 years, and I have watched him as a county commissioner. I've watched him go through a couple of elections, one of which was very tough and got very dirty, not on his part, but by his opponent. And I have really appreciated his demeanor. The fact that he is convicted and not afraid to talk about his faith. I've seen him answer some pretty difficult questions, and I've seen him do so. Not only can you tell he was honest, but just in a real, like a human way. So again, I'm not sure if he's considered historical yet, but as far as Oregonian leaders and those who have made an impact, I have to say that he is my favorite.
I'm going to take for my neutrality there and say, yeah, he is absolutely a great Oregon historical figure. And yeah, he's obviously not really history yet, but someday he's going to be history. So
That's right.
yeah,
history.
we got to know him. Yeah, love Bill Hansel. What are the primary sources of your personal values?
Primary sources of my personal values. I am registered Republican. This is a nonpartisan race, but I share that because I get asked that question a lot. When we look at my decision making and my voting history, I do not stay true just to a party line. I do research, I get informed, I vote depending upon the issue and my values behind that, and also the qualifications of any candidate. So I will start with the Republican side of the political spectrum is where I tend to lean moderate, I would say. Other values such as integrity, character, treating people the way I want to be treated, the golden rule, those sorts of things, it come from two places. One, I am a Christian. I believe that there is a God and that we were all created by Him for a purpose. That is a big driver in my life. I consider myself a prayerful person. I read the Bible, and I believe that the Bible is a guide to life, and it has all the answers about what my values should be. Thirdly, I would say the way and where I was raised has shaped my values as well. Neither my mother nor my father graduated from high school. They both had to go to work. They were from large families. They both lived through the Depression. My mother was 40 when I was born, and my father was 56, so they were older. And they both grew up poor. Financially, but they grew up very rich in terms of love in the home, loyalty, and dedication to family. And those are the things that I learned from them. They made education a big priority in my life, and then my brother and my sister. And a lot of that came, I think, because they did not have the opportunities that they wanted us to have. But as far as, living just an honest, relatively simple life with family at the center of it, and making decisions in a way that I can look myself in the mirror, I would say that came from my childhood.
Do you anticipate any potential criticisms from your opponent, and do you have any responses to potential criticisms?
I don't know if I would consider this a criticism. My opponent is from Eastern Oregon. My opponent talks about having been here for 4 generations. I think that's wonderful. Um, I don't, how can I say this? Um, she doesn't use against me that I'm not from here, but it's somewhat insinuated, I think. And I've been here 20 years, and my husband and I have raised our children here. Our children don't know any different. This is where they started preschool and graduated high school. So I think that how long I've lived here, really, or not lived here, really is not a talking point. But I would say if she was to say anything, it would probably be, who is this Susan Bauer, and how could she possibly know anything about our area when she didn't grow up here? Um, uh, I don't think that matters. In fact, as much as I value long-term families, I mean, some of our best friends are from here in many generations. I think that's wonderful. I don't think, however, that makes her any more qualified or any more competitive as a candidate. But other than that, my opponent and I we talk, we shake hands. It's been a very professional, enjoyable experience.
Time for our lightning round. First off, ducks or beavers?
I love that question. When it comes to football, I like the Ducks. When it comes to baseball, I like the Beavers, and you can see I've got some orange on today. That's just a coincidence. But it depends on the sport. I'm from Ohio originally, as I said earlier. So, I grew up as a Buckeye, and I grew up watching my dad and my older brother cheering on the Buckeyes. So I understand that love of team, and I understand that rivalry. But honestly, here in Oregon, for me, it's based on the sport.
Alrighty. What is your favorite restaurant in Umatilla County?
We have so many good ones in Umatilla County. I would say, gosh, my favorite, that's a tough question, but I would say Hamley's Steakhouse is a highlight. There's history at Hamley's Steakhouse. It is a redeveloped building. It's absolutely beautiful, historically presented. The food's outstanding. The service is great. But I like the historical perspective, and I like the ambiance at Hamley's. But like I said, we're very fortunate in Umatilla County. Every city has somewhere good to eat and out. And Pendleton, in particular, is known. We are very blessed for having many great restaurants and a very vibrant downtown. And Hamley's is located on the corner of two major busy streets, and so that makes it a neat location as well.
Families is pretty great. Now, what is your favorite Umatilla County landmark?
Favorite landmark, I really like, gosh, there's so many things. Um, the clock tower on the corner of, what is it, 4th and Court, that's on the corner of the block that the courthouse actually is on. That clock tower, to me, is absolutely gorgeous. It's original clock mechanics. It's presented beautifully. It's robust in how it's displayed, and around it there is a story about its history and the people who made sure to preserve it and make that uh, a standout for downtown Pendleton. So yeah, I'd have to say that historical clock. Plus, I like clocks and watches, and I have a collection of watches that I've collected over the last 45 years or so.
Last up, do you have any final thoughts for our viewers, and can you share with them how to get in touch with you?
Yes. I would like to share with viewers how to learn more about me, the different ways, and then I'd like to end with asking for your vote and letting you know why I want to be a county commissioner. Do check out my Facebook page, very active. There are, I think, 1,400 followers right now. There's active conversations, questions going back and forth. It's been wonderful. You can also go out on the internet at Susan Bauer, the number 4, countycommissioner.com. And there's a nice website full of information. It's interactional, and it also has pictures of my family, which I think is important, that people know me outside of the day-to-day professional world. So those are a couple ways. Two other ways that I'd like to offer. Number one is I offer Zoom calls. In fact, the next one is Friday at 4 o'clock. I also offer what I call community conversations with the candidate. The next one of those is the 21st for coffee in Weston at Daisy's Cafe. Um, and finally, I meet with people every single day. I have, for a year and a half, to be completely honest, my entire campaign, I've had appointments, whether it be by phone or Zoom or in person, with residents of Umatilla County. And I like to visit with people. I like to answer questions, and I like to hear from people. What's important to them. I like to hear about them. So I invite people to call me. I have one phone number that I use for campaign and personal and work purposes. That number is 541 215 9252. And as I said, I'd like to end by sharing. I want to be a Umatilla County Commissioner. I want to be one of the three because I'm at a stage in my life where I can do a lot of different things. I have a thriving business, but I have someone who is ready to step up and take over. I have 2 children. They're away in college, and so their needs of me are different. Um, I have a husband that we've been together since we were in high school, and he has always been supportive, as I have his professional interests and educational goals and those things. And so I have a husband that when I let him know I was thinking about running, his immediate response was, "Well, I was waiting on that because you're made for those jobs. You need to represent people." And it just warms my heart. And so, with the support at home, it's also a good time in my life. I want to be a county commissioner because I feel like I have skills and experiences that honestly we don't see that often in people running for government. It doesn't make me any better of a person, but I do think it makes me more qualified as a candidate. And I think that that is a unique opportunity that I bring, and I am intrinsically motivated to do this work. It's certainly not for the money, and it's certainly not for the glory. I see it as a challenge, and I see it as a public service opportunity for me to give back to a community that's been very good to me and my family for 20 years. So, in closing, I would just like to ask folks, if you feel that my background and my experience can make a difference for Umatilla County and help us to protect our rural agricultural lifestyle, vote for me. If you feel that my leadership style and my communication style is what we need right now, as we grow and we're talking with prospects like Amazon, and we're making big decisions like incentive plans and tax abatements and all these things. If you think that my leadership and communication style will help us be a collaborative, inclusive community that maintains its values of rural agricultural Eastern Oregon, then vote for me. Please vote for me. Check me out. And I appreciate and I will be humbled by the opportunity to serve as one of your county commissioners.